been widely accepted that Nikola Vucevic is going to be on the trading block this offseason. It appears he's not going to be the only big man on the trade block, as Zach Collins reportedly is also being shot by the Chicago Bulls. We'll talk about what that means and do a season grade for Zach Collins as well and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Pat, getting to the season grade coming down the stretch, but it is, according to Joe Cowley, in one of his articles, he points out the fact that not only is Nikola Vucevic on the trading block, but Zach Collins as well is on that trading block by the Chicago Bulls. Now, this could be taken as a few different things. If the Bulls are just looking to see what they can get back for any and all veterans, seeing what sticks. It doesn't, maybe they feel like they can't move Vooch, so then they're going to try to move Zach Collins. Yeah. But I think if you're shopping both these guys, it does, to me, at least point towards the Bulls are open or focused on drafting a center in this draft, pending what happens in the draft lottery. How do you feel, Pat?
Listen, I think that this is a team right now that is in transition with, everything we had last season, bringing all these new pieces in. Zach Collins, to me, is a nice player, right? But he shouldn't be somebody that's sticking on your roster just because he's a nice player. Now, if it comes down to you don't get the center that you want, I think that's a different conversation. But right now, Zach Collins he's a solid role-playing piece that had a hot 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like the couple of weeks that Vooch was out, Zach Collins looked like a world beater. And it was like, whoa, can this guy be a little bit more? No, he was a role player that had a hot 2 weeks, and it worked out for you. And don't overvalue that. And so I think for me, I'm fine with you moving on from Zach Collins. I like the fact that we're finally talking about moving on from Nikola Vucevic, and it actually seeming like it's going to be real. Now, at the end of the day, that could be just nothing because we've felt like this was going to be real for 2 seasons now, and he's continued to be here past the trade deadline. So at this point, I don't know if he's going to be moved on or not, but the Zach Collins portion of it alone, I think, is just AK not overvaluing his assets, which is something we don't talk about AK a lot for. And maybe he's actually learned his lesson in this whole situation.
One would learn that he's learned some type of lesson or something over the years, right? But can never guarantee that because it is AK. But
he re-signed Lonzo Ball 2 months ago. I don't know what he's learned.
Bro, and you didn't you could have waited to the end. Like
there was no reason.
There was no reason to at that point, like wait to the end of the season. That's the part that makes that so crazy for me, because it's like, all right, cool, you re-signed him. But you didn't have to do it. Anyway, let's not get on that trauma.
35 games.
35 games. 70 games over 4 years. That's crazy.
20 million. That's 20 million bucks. That's 20 million bucks. I can do this. I can do this.
That's crazy. But so hearing that they're moving Zach Collins, like, yeah, it sounds like I wouldn't be surprised if over the course of this offseason we hear, especially with how the draft goes, like, we hear that Kevin Huerter's being shot. But I mean, he did mention the back end of that article as well that it could be Io, but I don't agree with that, because we heard is that they turned away any calls for Io. But hey, you never know, things may change. But the Bulls should be in a place where they're at least seeing what's out there. Like that's what this may be, is just seeing, hey, if we were to move Zach Collins, what would that look like? Who's interested? And that's what you like when you're in the offseason. That's the whole purpose of it, is you're trying to see how you can improve your team. And I hate to tell you guys, Pat said it too. Stop attaching yourself to players that we know aren't part of the long-term future. Oh, we can't move. I mean, things I've seen, we can't move Zach Collins and Kevin Huerter. They were so good for us.
Bro,
if we've gotten to the point to where players like Kevin Huerter and Zach Collins aren't movable, that we are so attached, they've been so good for us that they are untradeable, just go ahead and just say you don't want us to win anything. Just say you don't care about winning.
I'm going to be honest with you. There's not a player on this team that's untradeable.
No, it's just the level of deal for each one. Well, I mean, I get what you're getting at with that.
I honestly, there's not a player on this team for me that is untradeable. I would trade Josh Giddey. I would trade Kobe White. I would trade Al DeSumo. I would trade. I guess there's one, Modest. And only because I don't know what Modest is. But like when we talk about untradeable is like you are a linchpin to us being successful in the future. Nobody's that on this team right now. You got a lot of nice players that maybe can turn into something if you have the perfect combination together. But for the most part, Kobe's going to be who he's going to be. High volume scorer, efficient scorer. I don't expect a superstar. Giddey's going to be who he's going to be. Maybe he can turn into a little bit more because of how young he still is, and they all are young. But like, there's nobody on this team that anybody should be attaching themselves to for the long-term future. Like you got Derrick Rose sitting on the bench. You don't. And I'm going to be honest with you. I get, like, I think it's also the way we've been conditioned, right? The last time the Bulls were good was the Derrick Rose years. You had a bunch of dudes on that team that could come in and fill in for Derrick Rose when Derrick was injured. You had a bunch of dudes on that. We had the bench mob, which was great, and it was fun. But at the end of the day, they didn't win championships. The bench mob was great, but I would have moved on from the entire bench mob to have LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade on this team. I would have sold half of Chicago to have LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade on this team.
Which side of Chicago? I need to know which side of Chicago you willing to say.
North side.
Okay.
North
I agree with that.
Gone. Immediately. And take your coffee shops with you.
That's funny.
But there's nobody on this team that you should be like, it's unmovable. Like, come on, dog. That's not realistic in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, listen, well, that's a conversation for another day. But as far as when it comes to like players the level of Zach Collins, that's definitely not a player that you can look at and say, oh my God, we can't move. I look like the weeks that he gave as a starter were great, right? You can acknowledge that somebody played really good for you for a stretch. I even think when he went into the bench, there were still some solid minutes he gave us, but like
100%.
That's replaceable. That is replaceable. There are going to be 4 players at the end of the draft that eventually can replace it. I'm not saying necessarily year one, because a lot of what Zach Collins brought was the basketball IQ as well, but you can get replacements for that.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. So for me, like Zach Collins, I love Zach Collins, right? I think he brings a lot of I'll tell you this. The one thing that I would love to keep Zach Collins for, if he's not on the trade clock, the trade block. I just looked at what you put in the thing.
What I put in there?
On this screen. Zach Collins on the trade clock. I'm glad you got that L in there, my boy. That's a dangerous game to play.
Hey, listen. That would have been, we would have had to take the whole episode down and start over. Could you imagine the note we would have got from Nick on that one? Bro, that is hilarious.
Zach Collins is on what?
Zach Collins is on the trade. What now? Haize, what did you say? That's crazy. Oh.
But no, like I the one thing that Zach Collins did bring that I think the Bulls do need is Zach Collins played tough.
Yeah.
Zach Collins played a hard-nosed brand of basketball, and it's something that we didn't see the Bulls play very much before he got here. I do think that's something where you kind of look at it and go, it would be beneficial to have him as somebody on your team.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and let's be clear. Just because we're saying that he's not untradeable means that we don't want him here either. If he's here, great. He's going to have a role here. We need that level of toughness. We need that basketball IQ. We can use the veteranship and all that type of thing. But it's just like, if you find the right deal, if you find a deal that you can either gain future assets or whatever it is, you do it. Like, and here's the thing. This is the way I look at it. If you get a trade and somebody's willing to give you an additional first-round pick or a young player that has some upside, and they're like, yeah, but we need Zach Collins because you're going to need a veteran in here that can help. If you say no to that for Zach Collins, you're stupid.
But we've done that.
Yeah, and we've been a stupid front office.
You know what I mean? Like that's where it does get scared. That's where it is, kind of shaky with we've gone out and literally been like, hey, you want this first-round pick for Lonzo Ball? Nah, we good.
No, we good on that.
Yeah, you want this really good player to go after Nikola Vucevic? Nah, I'm straight.
We can, even without the lottery, we can say that. So the Memphis Grizzlies offered that pick for Lonzo Ball, and I know this is about to piss you off.
I know already.
That pick would have been, because it was lottery protected, meaning that so if their season went left, they ended up making the play-in. Number 18. We'd have been able to go into this draft with number 12 and number 18.
Yep. Oh, I know. Dumb. And paid him $20 million. And paid him $20 million. Real money.
Yep, cash money.
It's in his bank account. He get a check every Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that's
every
crazy.
Tuesday for the next 2 years from the Chicago Bulls.
Well, the second year is a team option, so we don't know about that. Hopefully they've learned
it up.
Let's keep a little faith in there. Maybe he's learned.
Picking it up.
Anyway, next up we're going to be talking about our grade for Zach Collins in this season. But first, we got to get to a message from FanDuel. The playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up in the biggest moments, and how could tracking their trends help you build your next bet? What it would look like to combine live prop bets mid-game based on how the action unfolds. They give all that information that you need if you go to FanDuel.com. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. What's up there, Pat?
We got to stop helping each other out.
I know, right? Like, you know what? We just need to set it down that if whoever's reading the ad reads, the other one controls everything in the background. Let's just make that the standard, right?
Let's do that from now on.
Yeah, let's just do that. Anyway, so I know we just talked a lot about Zach Collins, and we touched on a little bit about what he brought to this Bulls team last season. Yep. How are you feeling about his season grade for 2024-25?
Listen, with his time with the Bulls, I would say that he is a C+ player. Like I said, he had a hot 2 weeks. I don't think that there's any, I'm not overvaluing it. I do think he brought in an amazing level of toughness. I think that, there were times where he was lost on the floor, though. And that's why he had to be, had to go back to the bench. That's why on the bench you couldn't utilize him a ton, why you had to go with some smaller rotations down the stretch. There's matchups that don't work for Zach Collins, but when it does work for him, when it is one that you could put him out there and feel confident in him being out there, I thought he did some really good things. And so, in the long run of this whole thing, I think you got back a really, really good player who gave you some good minutes off of the bench, but who can't be that guy versus everyone he goes up against. And because of that, I think C+ is kind of the range that I sit in with what Zach Collins' short second half of the season with the Bulls was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he came in and he did his job. And then when you called upon him and needed him to do more, he actually did more for that stretch. But what Zach Collins, when we looked at him, what he was traded here, what he was here to bring is some bench depth at the big position that could give you solid effort on both sides of the ball. He did that. And for that, I hats off to him, because he did it at a time where Vooch was down. Jalen Smith wasn't playing the best either. He was also dealing with the injury, and Zach Collins came in there and filled in really well. And I do think having a whole season of Zach Collins there, you'll be able to he's the perfect depth big for you. I just think that's the case. For where this team is, we needed everything that he brought. You gave it a C+. I think that's an accurate grade there, because that I don't think a player that's Zach Collins in his role could get higher than that. And unless he had, for example, Vooch went down for 3 months and we needed him to start for half the season. Then he gave what he gave when Vooch was out this time for a half a season. Then of course, then you're looking at to the B+ A- range. But for the majority of the season, he was a bench big that came in and played 15 to 16 minutes per game. In his minutes, he had more positive games than negative games as far as plus minus. And he did his role. He did his job. And I think there's something to be said about players that just do their job.
Do your job, as Tom Thibodeau says. I think that is really the conversation around Zach Collins is, can you do your job? And to me, versus talent, no matter what. The one thing that I've always respected about Vooch and why I like Vooch more than most is because it doesn't really matter who he's going up against. Vooch can get 20 and 10.
Yeah. No.
That's an impressive skill set in the NBA.
Evan Mobley smacks him around every time.
Yeah, Evan Mobley might be the one. There's a conversation to be had about
Evan Mobley sees Vooch is like, oh yeah, he's not doing nothing today.
Yeah, there's a conversation to be had about Evan Mobley, but for the most part, right, like it is a dang, that's crazy.
You look at the numbers?
I put in Vooch versus Evan Mobley, and it was just like Evan Mobley's grabbed 74 rebounds against Nikola Vucevic. Like, Jesus. Bro, he got a 5-block game versus Vooch. Jesus Christ. Fight
bro,
back.
I'm telling you. It's bad, bro. It's bad. Nikola Vucevic average against Evan Mobley is 45% shooting from the field and 27% from three.
Yeah, that's tough. But outside of that, I mean, like the thing I respect, and that's hard to do in the NBA, is be able to go out there game in and game out and be the same person. Like, that's not, I know we look at 20 and 10 and just be like, oh, anybody can. No, you can't.
No,
it's really difficult.
Is what Vooch does it. Yeah, no.
So, like, you can see that to me in Zach Collins' game. And there's some players that Zach Collins absolutely looks amazing against and dominates. You're just like, oh my God, like, I can't believe this guy's not a starter. And then there's other players where you go, oh, now I completely see why Zach Collins isn't a starter. He doesn't look like he can run on the floor. And I think you saw some of those ups and downs in the second half of that season.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Like, and that's why you can't look at a player at their best and be like, oh, this is who he can be. And just the same way you don't want to look at when a player's at their worst and just say, oh, well, this is just who they are either. Like, it's true somewhere in the middle. The fact is that their range in the middle is pretty big for Zach Collins, depending upon the matchup. But guess what? That's what bench players are in the NBA. Like, it is what it is there. So, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, if Zach Collins is on this roster next season, and let's I know we'll get into that more in the third, but if the center rotation doesn't change at all, Zach Collins, Vooch, Jalen Smith are still your three centers on this roster. Where is Zach on that depth chart to you?
I mean, I guess in theory he's the backup, right? Like I said, he does bring the toughness, but I think he's the backup based off of the fact that I don't know what's going on with Jalen Smith's knees. Like, there's always ice on him, but he's never playing. So I don't know if it's a backup in want, right? And not to say Jalen Smith was bad either. It just they both fell out of the rotation. They both were pieces that the Bulls looked at it by the end of the season and were like, we can use you in spot moments. But and with Jalen Smith, the tough part is, right, with Zach Collins always brings something consistently. If Jalen Smith's not knocking down the three ball, I really don't have a spot for you. Yeah. So I think that's where you kind of lose some of that where he could be that backup guy consistently, even though that's what it felt like he was signed here to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think too with the Jalen aspect, one of the problems is like Jalen. People talked about Jalen as if he was like this defender that was coming in here. I'm like, he gets
tall and block shots.
Yeah, he gets weak side blocks pretty well. But if you talk about on ball, he's basically just as bad as Nikola Vucevic in most scenarios. Like, he's not a good on ball defender at all. Like, now we're talking about it's bad. It's barbecue chicken out there. And that's why he probably came into the league as a 4 instead of a 5. So
I mean, listen, he's like what Pau Gasol was. Like,
Pau Gasol was a lot more. He was a better on ball defender than Jalen Smith. He wasn't great, but he was better.
No, I'm just saying, like, but Pau Gasol wasn't a good defender. He was better, but being better than bad is not good. Like, Pau Gasol was a rough defender too, but he was tall, so he'd come away with 2 blocks in a game, and they'd be like, "Well, he's an elite defender."
And that's for people who think that because you see blocks, it means that you play good defense. It's like, doesn't mean that at all.
Myles Turner spent half his career being a bad defender.
Exactly.
And I don't know what changed. I don't know if it was Rick Carlisle coming in. I don't know what happened. But about 4 seasons ago, all of a sudden, he was a really good on-ball defender. And I was out on Myles Turner forever because I was like, this dude's a bad defender. He just blocks a lot of shots. He leads the NBA in blocks. No, like, he's tall. Like, I would hope he can block shots. Ball goes up, go get ball. That's literally center.
That's funny.
Can you stand in front of somebody and keep them from getting past you?
No, they
Darn
can't.
it.
They can't, Pat. But with that said, man, we're getting into the last topic and transition into that for today. But first, we gotta take a break. I don't even know what to call that. I don't even know what to call that. Like,
there's probably some actual commercial that gets put in on the TV side or something like that.
Something like that. Nonetheless, so with all this talk around the center lately, moving Vooch, moving Zach Collins, whatever happens there, we haven't heard anything about them possibly shopping Jalen Smith. Do you think that center is probably the best bet there that the Bulls are going to draft? And we'll find out more next Monday with the draft lottery. We'll find out exactly where the Bulls are going to be picking at, which kind of would help you dictate the draft board a little bit more. And do you think they're trying to figure out which guy stays on? Because Billy, there's no way I don't see Billy Donovan starting a rookie center next year. So you have to keep one of these guys to be at least your starter for year one as you transition. So how do you see that? If the Bulls are drafting a center, how do you see that depth chart playing out?
Bro, listen, if you trade Vooch this offseason, you're starting a rookie center.
I don't trust Billy Donovan to do that.
Jalen Smith knees won't let him start.
That's why they were icing. They're icing him this at the end of this season.
They were icing him this whole season for next year. You about to get utilized.
Pre-icing. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, I think if you move on from Vooch, your rookie center is probably starting, unless you go out there and add somebody this offseason, which I haven't even looked at the free agency market. Who are some centers that are going to be on the market?
Everybody keeps saying the Bulls should sign who sucks, but I'm so over the Bol truth.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
That just pissed me off.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I say, like,
that just pissed me off. I hate the Bol conversation.
Bro, I hate those people.
Mo Bamba's out there. Should we sign him too? Huh? Oh, quiet. Oh, dang it. No. There's nobody. I just looked. Is this fact?
Yeah.
Is this every free agent ever? Like, I'm talking about the ones that matter. Like, yeah, okay. So this is just all the free agents, which I guess is what I look. Mark Williams is a free agent. Oh, Malik Williams. Never mind. That's a very different person.
Yeah,
I don't even know who Malik Williams is. Thon Maker's out there. Didn't we have Thon Maker in our G League?
No. Well, yeah, we did have Thon Maker. I remember that season because everybody said that we should hold on to him that year.
I might mess with Thon Maker coming back through it. if you're gonna take a chance, like, there's no center prospects out there, is basically what I'm looking at. That really is somebody the Bulls are gonna go out there and sign. I think that this is
we have McCore Maker.
Yeah, that's right. But like Troy Brown Jr. also a free agent. At the end of the day,
still in the league.
Hey, bro, listen. I think this is just all free agents ever. I think they gave me way too wide a list on this.
Like, they haven't put in their official retirement paper, so technically they're a free agent.
They gave me way too many people on this list. But the big thing for me right now is just that if you're gonna go out and sign somebody, right? Okay, so here's the actual NBA players, right? Clint Capela is gonna be a free agent. I guess for some cheap money, maybe.
For cheap money, I wouldn't be mad at Clint Capela.
Myles Turner is going to be a free agent, but they probably bring him back in.
Naz Reid.
Steven Adams is going to be a free agent.
You know what?
Naz Reid would be interesting, but he's got a player option. He's more than likely opting back.
But Naz Reid would be one I'd be interested in because you could start him I know it's a small ball center, and then as your rookie center takes over, you can transition him to the four, like what they did with Bam and Khalil Ware this year.
Does a Mo Wagner interest you?
He has a team option. They're picking up their team option.
Are they?
They're gonna pick up
after like 4 years of this. I would think they'd be like, all right, it's cool that we got y'all brothers, but like, it's time to move on from you.
I think they still like Mo Wagner a lot. I think they hold on to him. But if Mo is a free, if he is, for your question on the free agent market, I wouldn't mind signing Mo. If we're drafting the center, I wouldn't mind signing Mo.
How about this one? Because it does feel like the Bulls are moving in a little bit of a different direction. Did Andre Drummond just go on vacation to Philly for a season?
Oh, my God.
32 years old, but all he got to do is go up and grab rebounds and block shots.
That's crazy.
My whole point in all of that is, like, you don't have center depth. which is really the question. Like there is no center depth for you. Whatever center you draft in this draft is playing a lot.
You have a lot more faith in Billy Donovan, bro, than I do. I just don't.
I mean,
don't
is
have
that
faith
or we
in Billy
putting
Donovan.
we putting Javon Carter out there at center, which could be the case, but
No, I think that's why I don't think they trade both Vooch and Zach Collins. I think you're keeping Zach Collins. You're going to have Jalen here. I'm not saying that the rookie center won't play at all, but I don't think they're going to start right away. Now they may modest them where they trickle them in there and they're starting by the end of the season. But with the way rookie bigs get in foul trouble, I don't see a rookie center starting right away under Billy.
Well, I think Thomas Bryant available. That's an interesting one. What happened to him? Why did he fall off a mountain? Thomas Bryant was solid.
He's the size of a mountain. So
yeah. Well, that's true.
That may be why.
That could be the case.
Yeah.
Tony Bradley's still out there,
bro.
What
are we doing here, bro? What are we doing? What Pat's sleepy, y'all. Oh
no, I'm literally just looking through centers.
How about Paul Reed? How do you feel about Paul Reed?
How old is Paul Reed? 24?
25.
25? Only thing about Paul Reed that I think does confuse me a little bit is how are you not better than Isaiah Stewart? Like Isaiah Stewart is literally just I'm sized. Like he's not.
I mean, Isaiah Stewart's a lot smarter of a defender than Paul. Like Paul Reed's solid defensively too, but Isaiah Stewart, yeah, he's. I don't know how much Detroit you watched this year, but Isaiah Stewart really did take a leap defensively this year as far as like his understanding on when to hedge, fighting over screens, those type of things. He really did take a step this year.
I mean, he took a step, but you should be able to pass up Isaiah Stewart. Like he's not elite. Now, maybe Paul Reed isn't either, and that's the point. Yeah, I mean that would be my point in saying that is that's my pushback on why I wouldn't want Paul Reed. I feel like Isaiah Stewart is a solid center, but if you were at least at that level, Paul Reed to me is more mobile that you would be the guy that they would look at. But Isaiah Stewart also brings an edge. So that could be that too.
Well, see, he's also almost 3 years younger. So,
yeah, that's true. Listen, at the end of the day, I think the center depth is going to be tough for the Bulls in going into next season. I think you're going to have to sign somebody, and it doesn't look good because to me, Zach Collins, I don't see Billy Donovan wanting to play Zach Collins as a starting center every night in and night out. He didn't want to play him this year as a starting center when he had to start him because Vooch was out. He was like, Jalen, you dead? He's dead. All right, don't worry about it.
Pat's always killing somebody on the show. Well, give me your social media. Let's get up out of here, Pat.
Hey, man, follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for tuning in to show love.
You guys can follow me at CEO Haize. You can follow us collectively at Locked On Bulls. Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Amazon app, apparently, Amazon Fire TV, Fubo TV, everywhere.
We're on Amazon.
Tomorrow. Love you guys. Go Bulls. Peace.
I like how the center list was like Clint Capela, and then it gets worse. Taj Gibson at 40.
I'm good on that. I mean, I would gladly have Taj Gibson on the Bulls roster, but not to play.
Not to play. We just need another bald guy to fill it.